Hi, my loves. Welcome to the show. So, one thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that we haven't been penetrated with any male energy in quite some time. This new season hasn't had any of it. And to be honest, I can't be having that. So, let's change it up, shall we? Let's get right to it with our male guest for the new season, Anup Sohanta. He is also known as noopface on the Instagram, and he's a quite, I want to say chummy, but like he has a British accent. So is that like what you say when someone's British? You're like, oh, they're quite chummy, huh? Oh, am I being way too cliche? I may be. Okay, he is really amazing. Just take a look at his Instagram. Like you should totally here's what you're going to do. Put this on pause. Go to the Instagram. Find him. Noopface, noopface, and then just take a look at one of his recent posts, and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna follow this fella. That's what's gonna happen. Amazing, right? And I've felt the same way when I found him on the IG, and I was just really turned on by the work that he was putting out into the world and the way that he uses his words, and he describes love and sexual intimacy and relationships. It's just really raw and real, and I feel like he doesn't hold back, and I really appreciate that and I respect that. And I rushed out to get his book, which is called From the Universe Lips to My Ears. Beautiful, right? And the book is just full of even more gorgeous words and phrases and poetry, and it just really evokes the soul in such a gorgeous way. So I was really excited to have him come on the show and have a conversation about love and life and relationships. And I will say, it got a little more fun once we stopped the record button. So I think that means this episode is just foreplay, and we're going to have him back on for the next time. What do you say?
Welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Good. You mentioned a little bit of a cold.
Yeah, just the remnants of a cold still there.
It's that time of year. So I found you randomly. I'm not sure, you know how it works with the Instagram. It might have been one of our prior guests, Amy Jindra, who follows you, or it might have been through Broken Isn't Bad. It doesn't really matter. But when I came across your profile, I was just like, oh my goodness, like I have arrived into something, and it's beautiful and it's fantastic. And I literally ordered your book like within a few days of finding you, because I just am so enthralled by the way that you speak and the way that you communicate online. And I think it's really beautiful. And I'm really curious, first of all, your Instagram handle is noopface. What is that?
Okay, so my name is Anup.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's used to call me Noop as a nickname.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, it kind of just, for some reason, I don't remember how, but one day I signed up to something, I think it was MySpace or something like that, and I signed up as noopface, and it just kind of just went on from that.
Amazing. So noopface on MySpace. Love it. To the Instagram.
Excuse me.
No worries. It's all good. So I was just kind of curious about that. So, you know, I mentioned in the intro to everyone to check out his profile and just kind of see how he brings such a beautiful poetic muse to form. And further, the way that I look at your words and the way that I embody them is there's this sensual imagination that comes through. And so have you always been a poet? Were you always writing in this fashion?
No, actually, I didn't ever envisage myself being a writer. It's something that came about, I would say, well, excuse me, I touch upon it briefly in my book where I was going through this transitional phase in my life and I started to read more writing and I started to read more quotes and poetry and all that kind of stuff. So, Rumi was a big influence for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I read the Riz's book, which was really surprised me because I didn't expect it to be, my cup of tea,
Mm.
but it was. And then I kind of started to write my own stuff and slowly kind of slipped it in between quotes from famous people just to kind of gauge how that would go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know what you mean. I used to do that too. I'm like, okay, let's just put a little Wayne Dyer here, and then maybe we'll sneak mine in and see if people like it.
I'm like, yeah, 19 likes. They like it. Great.
Success. We're in. Keep going. Do another one.
So that's how that kind of developed. And then it was around 2017. At the start of 2017, I started to take myself a little bit more seriously and just put my own writing out there instead.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then it just kind of developed. I mean, my experiences have always shaped what I write and how I write it. So, if you go back to when the book was written, to me, it feels really crass.
Mm,
It feels very kind of unstructured, whereas my writing is kind of different now. It's more refined.
sure.
So yeah, that was that.
Yeah, what made you take the initiative to put it in a book? Because that's a big step to say, okay, I'm taking, and again, you can look at 2017 version of you and you can look at your writing then in comparison to now and see the refinement in where you are now. But 2 years ago, there was a part of you that was like, let's just put this in a book. How did you get to that point?
I was pushed by several people, not pushed in a bad way,
Okay.
but pushed in a good way to
Uh-huh.
be like
Our favorite kind. Yeah.
the best kind.
Mm,
Um, to be like, you should write a book or you should release it all into a book, or which was even nicer is I would prefer a more tangible copy of what you've written
mm,
um, in a kind of paperback format so that I could kind of keep it for
mhm.
sentimental value, which was a nice thing for people to say.
Yeah, I think so. So it was just kind of getting that encouragement, those gentle, like good pushes, if you will, that made you to say, yeah, I'll put it in a book. And did you self-publish? How did this come to be?
I did self-publish. I went through Amazon because I was contemplating going through the traditional publishing route,
Right.
uh, but publishing poetry through the traditional route is difficult as fuck. Pardon my French,
No, say all the French.
but and on top of that, I kind of feared that I was just kind of starting up to gain a bit more momentum, and I didn't really want a publisher to be like, well, you can't post this and you can't say this. So
Yeah.
so that's why I went the self-publishing route.
Nice. Ultimate freedom, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. And how did you sync up with Broken Isn't Bad? For anyone that's listening, Broken Isn't Bad is another amazing Instagram account. Beautiful artist. I love the way that they infuse the cosmos, astrology, just really tapped in. So how did that connection come to be?
So that happened. I stumbled across her work randomly
Mm-hmm.
one day, and I thought, after looking at photography pictures for my front cover, I decided I've got really poor Photoshop skills, but I decided to mishmash loads of photos together
Uh-huh.
and create what I wanted to be as a front cover, which actually looked pretty cool, by the way, just to
Mm-hmm.
throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I messaged her and I said, could you do me some art for the book, and could you do me the front cover also? And she said, yeah, cool, that's fine. Let me know what you'd like. And so I sent her the image for the front cover, and she sent that back.
Mm-hmm.
And with a few tweaks rather, it was fine tuned, and that's how that relationship happened. And I think I was the first person to approach her for a book cover, so it was the first time she'd done it, which made me feel special.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, as it should. I feel like you kind of saw into her talent before a lot of other people had.
yeah, there's been another author that's also had a book cover made, similar kind of poetry vibe afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
His book was released at the end of last year, I think. So it's um,
I've seen that one.
is it any good?
I like yours better. I didn't reach
He's
out. I didn't reach
massaging my
out to
ears
him to be
there.
on the podcast. So there's my answer, or there's your answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's just it's a little different. And I like your cover better. Because if for anyone that's listening, I'll put a little photo or just look it up yourself. It's from The Universe Lips to My Ears, and the cover is very like if you saw it, you'd be like, oh, that's very Danielle. Like if I feel like she's like doing this image right now. It's like this like woman with like very fiery hair, like up in the cosmos, kind of just listening. And there's like a beautiful sun and the waves and the moon. It's like, oh yes,
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm not sure how I kind of envisaged that, but that's what my my consciousness conjured up.
Yeah. So how do you connect to your consciousness? What is that process like?
Um, I was having this conversation the other day that so I tried conventional meditation,
Mm-hmm.
like sitting down,
Right.
sitting in the mountains 40 days without eating, that kind of shit.
Ah, yeah, perfect. Yes.
But it just, I don't know, like after doing it for like 2 years straight and not like finding some kind of solace, but not finding what I wanted from it,
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't what I want. So, sorry, it just wasn't what I wanted rather.
Mm-hmm.
But more, I'm focused more on moving meditations that are day-to-day tasks. So like being creative or cooking or whatever, anything that takes your mind away from your physical being where you can traverse somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's something that I talk a lot about as well. I actually have my own meditation teacher training. And part of the training is that we actually don't do that. There is no going to the mountain. There is no, fasting for 40 days, if you will. If you
Yeah.
want to sit for 20 minutes in the corner and ground yourself, go for it. Like, that counts as part of the training if you want to do it, but that's not why I'm teaching it. And why I say that is, yes, it may work for some individuals, but I find that more of us that have more of the creative side, more of us that are more physical in nature, that want to move, that want to be, that we need to infuse meditation into the arts and into things just like what you said, cooking and whatnot, and finding ways to connect with our consciousness through our breath, through activities that feel real.
Yeah, definitely. When we're on this planet, so we need
Mhm.
to play by human rules.
Yeah.
And I feel like those things that remind us of those human experiences, like and not to go into it too early, but like sex and all the artistic things. So like writing for me, but painting, cooking. Um, they develop those aspects of ourselves without us having to sit down and
Mhm.
sit there for 40 minutes or an hour meditating to try and separate our mind from our meat suit.
Right. And it just, I think it's a strange approach. Again, if it works for you, keep working it. I adore you. However, I just feel like sitting and putting myself in a space where I'm mindless for 40 minutes is really no different than me sitting with my phone and being mindless on social media for 40 minutes. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
yes, social media, you're kind of getting a feed of other people's energy and it could trigger certain things, but there's still not quite this essence of self-connection. And I feel like what you're sharing and what I feel is this: how can we connect deeper to who we are without this mindlessness?
yeah, absolutely.
I feel it. So okay, so you mentioned the sex, so let's get into it. No premature of anything here. So clearly your writing is very sexually based. It's very much driven through the art, through the partnership, all of those things. How did you feel comfortable even starting to express yourself in that way?
It took me a while.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely took me a while back to gauging people's responses and that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and pushing boundaries and things like that. Like, how far could I actually go with what I post and what I say and what I write, regardless, if I'd written it beforehand and was curious as to whether I was going to post it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but nowadays, and not to be blunt about it, I don't really give a shit if people
Yeah.
like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not posting it for people to like it. I'm posting it because it's expressive for me, and I want to share that out. And it always helps when people are always like, thanks you. They message me or they email me and they say thanks. That really helped in this situation, or I'm going through a really rough patch, and that helped. And to me, that's still overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think my words have that much of an impact. So whether it's about like relationships or sex or the universe, um, it always just seems to help people.
Yeah.
So that kind of fuels me.
It does. I mean, when I found you, it was at a time where I was going through a breakup, and sometimes when we go through breakups, we, of course, see the reason why we're breaking up with the person and how it's no
Yeah,
longer going to be. But there was also a part of me that was and I do, I think a lot of people do this. We get into the space of maybe romanticizing what was, or maybe kind of being like, oh, like, remember when he used to do this, or this was so lovely. And then I came across your profile and I read some of the things you were talking about. I was like, my person never did that. Or like, the person that when I was like, noticed myself, I was like, this, like when I would read your words, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the words that embody what I was trying to justify someone else as, but that was really never the relationship, and that's okay. And it gave me permission to let go of any past relationship, let go of any partnership that wasn't aligned, that wasn't in current completion, and just let it be. Because when I would read your words, I would be reminded of what my soul craved in a partner and what it was opening up into for what could be for the future and the potential. And it really brought life to that for me.
sure. I think for a lot of people, I mean, for myself as well, before they were my experiences, I was writing about experiences that I hadn't had, so I was manifesting those experiences.
Mm,
So,
interesting. As I was going to ask you if they
um,
were based off of someone. So a lot of this was just you having feelings and you being in a space of conjuring up expressions that were just feelings.
sure, yeah, that was right. Excuse me. That was right at the start. They weren't all my experiences, but they were just something that had manifested inside of me that I needed to get out. So that was like 2015 and 2016. And then I started to manifest those experiences. And the more I wrote about the things that had manifested, the more stuff would manifest
Uh-huh.
from it, because I was materializing it through Instagram or Tumblr or wherever I was posting it.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of the energy was out there at that point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just kind of spiraled on, kind of snowballed from that.
That's so amazing. I love that through your posts and your words and your expressions, it did manifest. And also, like you kind of mentioned, putting it in the public eye, so to speak. And, just like you said, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm putting this out because this is what I'm here to express. This is what I'm here to say. And I don't need your validation. But of course, when it comes through, like you said, it's overwhelming and it's beautiful. And I know that you're grateful for it. So, through the art of you expressing, you manifested a lot of this to form. And so what was that reality like when you started to see some of this materialize?
I think anyone that has ever manifested anything knows that when it does hit you in the face, you never realize that you were manifesting that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gone through that experience, and I didn't really realized that I had manifested that by writing about it. And even now, I mean, I write about things, or I manifest things, or I try to manifest things anyway. But um, and they just happen, and I'm not, I don't really contemplate the thought that I was manifesting that 6 months
Right.
ago, and now
Mhm.
it's happened to me.
Yeah.
So
No, that's amazing. I do feel, manifestation, of course, is a hot topic, a lot of buzzwords around it. However, when you look at it just in the way that you're sharing about it right now, so you're not looking at it so literally. It's more just I'm existing, I'm expressing, I'm being, and therefore things come to form as as such. Is that how you look at it, or?
Well, a few years ago, I would concentrate intently on manifesting something because I'd always had uh, the kind of notion that I would, how you have to focus on it. You have to have laser sight on the vision
Mm-hmm.
of what you want for it to manifest. But then I realized that there was no emotion behind that. So
Mm.
you need to have the emotion. You kind of need to feel it. You need to smell it, touch it, whatever, for it to actually manifest. Otherwise, your soul doesn't believe that it exists and that it'll never come to pass.
That's so true. So bringing in all the senses to awake and evoke the soul in such a way that it starts to kind of get the scent or the hunger, if you will, to bring it to you.
Yeah, and it goes back to being we're human. We have to live by human
Sure.
constraints, human rules. So we use our senses to bring our manifestations to life.
I really like that. So what would you say right now is a really big manifestation that came to be that you're super grateful for?
I would say my last major partner was definitely something I had wanted in my life, to transform me, to make me better. Um, so I'd always wanted that.
Mm, yeah.
So
That's amazing. And so and it's shifted since then?
right now my focus is on more work related stuff. So I am currently working on a second book, um, which will be a different kind of book. It won't be a poetry book.
Okay.
So
Oh,
that's
can you give us
that's
a
a
little
top
bit of a
secret
hint?
project.
Okay. Okay. Top secret over here. We don't want to mess up the process, so you'll just have us at the edge of our seat as
When
we
I've got a
figure
little bit more written down, then I can share a little bit
All
more.
right. All right. We'll let you keep stirring behind the scenes, and you'll just keep us in waiting. Okay, cool. So you've got that. And then, okay, so here's another question. Let's shift gears. Let's go back to kind of the space of being human, if you will, and just kind of the space of dating and relationships. I would love more of your take on it. So a big thing, like I had mentioned, when I came across your account and your book, it reminded me, not to settle. And it's so easy for us to do that because, we crave love, we crave partnership, we crave also normalcy. For me, sometimes it feels better to be in a relationship or be in a partnership because it almost feels like, like I'm more just normal. People will leave me alone, as opposed to sometimes when I'm single, I feel like I'm more vulnerable
Yeah.
or I'm more subject to, well, why, are you still single? Are you still dating? And it leads to more questions. So I think, and I'm not the one to settle at this point in my life, but many people do. And why do you think we settle so much?
I've got several views on on that, but I would say security is a big one. People really just don't want to face themselves, um, face their own flaws, and face their own insecurities. So having a partner just makes them feel more comfortable with who they are,
Hmm.
especially if they're settling as well, because it'll be a partner that kind of like either massages their
Mm.
ego, or just a partner that is there regardless of how shitty they can be.
Hmm.
Not saying that that's the case for all people, um, but that would be one of the reasons. So I would say that's a major reason,
Yeah.
is security.
Yeah. Security. So how can one feel secure on their own?
I mean, I don't like to spout like, all the self love, that kind of
Sure.
stuff. I'm a firm believer more in conflict resolution. So communication, I wasn't always a great communicator, and I still think I'm flawed in many ways. Um, but I think to appreciate yourself is to look yourself in the mirror and be like, well, you're full of shit. And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
to be so blunt about
Uh-huh.
that, But this is where and many people don't want to do that, to be like, this is where you're flawed. This is where you suck.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what you need to work on to be a better person, to improve your friendships, your relationships, your relationships with your family, all those kinds of things. So it's people don't want to face that. I didn't want to face that. I mean, I'm a Leo.
You're a Leo, so am I. Little spark. Love it. Anyway, keep going, Leo brother.
Yeah, no. So that's it. I think a lot of it is confronting yourself, being like, this is where I'm flawed, and this is what I need to work on to be better. So
Mm-hmm.
self-love only really comes after you could do that.
Yeah, I definitely felt the same way when I first kind of got out of my rock bottoms, if you will, initial messes, and kind of was exploring this world of self-love and personal development and whatnot. I kind of looked at it all and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Like, you want me to do what? Like, I hate myself right now. Like, I judge myself constantly. Like, I am a hot mess. And when I would read some of the things that would be shared around this journey to self-love, I'm like, oh, like this is the journey to just wanting to throw up. So I kind of came up with what I called like self-okay, which is very similar to what you're sharing. Is kind of, I would just look in the mirror and be like, okay, what do we got? Like, what do we got? Let's unpack this. Let's just look at it from kind of a neutral space and just, openly look in the mirror and be like, this is where I feel.
I think that's the issue when you've got, so you look in the mirror and you don't think, you think the other person thinks you're flawed. So let's say they broke up with you, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, well, I must be ugly or a shit partner, or I wasn't giving them enough. Someone else is going to give them more. All those kinds of things. So I think with my promotion of self-love, it's more to be like, okay, well, take a step back. It's nothing to do with the other person. Excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
in that regard, but it's more in the sense that what did that person do for you as opposed to what did they do to you.
Mm-hmm.
So after I'd come out of my relationships, I was hurt, upset, or
Of course.
and whatnot, but it was more to do with the fact that, okay, well, my last major partner did great things for me. I can communicate better. um, I'm ready to branch out more, to scale myself as a person across the world. So those are two huge points that my character needed. I needed the pain, I needed the heartbreak
Mm-hmm.
for that to kind of fully blossom.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what would you say to someone that's kind of in that space now where they're vulnerable, they're in the pain, and they're moving through it?
Uh, I would say the same thing. So I would take a look, which is extremely difficult at the time. I
Of
completely
course.
understand that. But to take the pain, and what I always say is when you feel pain from a breakup, is to try and use shit. So
Mm.
you try new creative things, or go out with friends more, see new people, see new places, travel on your own, all the kind of stuff that elevates your soul, that genuinely makes you happy on a soul level, prior to relying on that relationship and that person as your purpose.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice.
Yeah. And I would love your advice further, or your insight rather, on, when you are in that place where you're feeling good and you're kind of on your own and back on your feet, and you've kind of established that space of, yes, I can travel on my own and I'm doing my day in and day out. Do you believe in kind of this practice of opening yourself up to love again, or is it just living your life and allowing whatever wants to come in, come in?
Uh, excuse me.
All good.
I I would say it's more about opening yourself back up to love, because if you don't do that, then like a genuine relationship is not really going to be able to find you. Sorry, excuse me, just dying over here.
Yeah.
um,
Someone get him some water.
Well, I've got wine,
Oh,
but
I have wine too. We're so on the same page. And I normally never drink wine for an interview, and it's like 3 o'clock here in my time, and I was like, I think I'm supposed to have a glass of wine for this interview.
5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Yeah, perfect. Well, I knew it would be for you apparently. Okay, great. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
So
Um,
opening yourself up to love.
sure. So I think that's crucial to actually finding love again, is to being, so one of my quotes, explicitly states that you should trust in love once more. Because if you don't, and you carry on living your life, you're going to be holding that vibration of your past, of your past hurt and all that kind of stuff, and not being open to attracting love again.
I like that. And I like that you say trust and love once more. And so that once more is kind of giving that space and that openness to be like, let's just trust and let's just go for it again. And it allows us to be more in that future frame as opposed to that rigidness or that tightness from what may have happened in the past.
So trust in love once more is to be more like, okay, well, the past sucked ass. So, but if you do it, just open yourself up once more again, and I'm sure the universe will prove you wrong.
Mm. Yeah. I like it when the universe proves me wrong.
Does it happen often?
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, it hasn't with love in a little bit, but universe. You want to prove me wrong with a lover? Let's do it. I'm here for it. Yeah, but I find that with my like business and career goals, it tends to, because sometimes I can get a little beautifully stubborn, and it'll often prove me wrong. But I find in relationships, yeah, maybe I want to open up to that more. Universe, prove me wrong. Especially like prove me wrong with what I think I should have, because and then you know what's gonna happen. The universe will be like, all right, Danielle, we'll prove you wrong, and they're gonna send me someone that's 5'5", and I'm like, okay. Not that I really am not superficial or into what the physicality should be, but I always, since I am tall, I always say, well, I would like a tall man.
Yeah, sure.
So
Does the universe normally provide tall men?
yes, it does. So it hasn't proven me wrong yet in that way. So continue to bless me with the tall men. And then something else, prove me wrong in a fantastic way. It's going to make me say, ooh, I'm so glad you did.
I think all the times that the universe has proved me wrong, it's always been like for my own growth in a way.
Yes.
So I'd be like, this is what I want. And the universe is like, nope, well, you can't fucking have that because this is what you should have.
Right. Right. And it brings beautiful perspective when you can see it that way, which can also be part of the journey and part of the growth and part of the initial temper tantrum, if you will.
Yeah, I think at times you get clouded in the, well, it's almost like almost like having a child as a soul, where you're like, no, but I fucking wanted that toy. Why are you giving me this?
Mm-hmm. Totally. I have a teenager in my soul. So yeah, my inner teenager. That's like, but I had a crush on that one. I don't understand. I wrote in my journal how much I loved him and how cute he was. Why is he with her? Cheerleader.
But then did it provide you with something better?
Oh, it did, of course.
Okay, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, so much better. And now I'm in the space where I think I'm much more selective initially, so I can kind of see more off the bat what isn't in alignment and just continuing to move through, as opposed to before I would be more like, well, let me prove myself wrong, or let me give this a chance, or let me explore it further, when that was really never. And that almost became my lesson in a way. It's like, well, no, Danielle, you didn't actually need to explore that. That wasn't part of this. You just were too afraid to even keep going.
Yeah.
So that's been a thing, but but not right now. Right now, it's very open. It's just me and my glass of wine. So,
Same.
same. Yeah. So it must be what's going on for Leos right now. What date is your birth?
It's on the 20th
Uh, of July or August?
August.
August.
Yeah.
I'm a little older than you. I'm on the 9th.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I know it's always funny when people, you're the same sign. You're just like, oh, what date? And then it's like different. You're like, okay, cool. Going
Well,
about the
nowadays it's like, what's your rising? What's your moon?
yeah. Well, I know. So I'm actually Leo moon and Leo rising.
And Leo sun as well.
So I'm Leo
You're a
sun
triple
moon
threat.
rising. Yeah, I'm a triple threat, triple fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's explaining a lot more. Okay.
I don't think I've ever met someone that's a triple Leo.
Yeah, where I'm a unique one. I'm a rarity. So I haven't met a triple Leo myself. I've met triple of some other signs, but not Leo.
Okay. I'm a Scorpio rising, Pisces moon.
Oh, that's where all the sensual and
Yeah, I get that a lot.
yeah.
Everyone's like said that's where the sexy shit comes from.
Yeah, because I dated some Leos and like they're fun, but they can be a little dense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find, and again, because I'm so Leo in that way. Although my Venus and my Mercury are both Virgo, which is a little bit different. So, but I find that whenever I'm with a Leo man, and I try not to go down the rabbit hole of finding out the rest of their chart before I really get to know them, so I'm not making assumptions, but when I've been with a Leo man based on his sun sign, I find that there's a lot of initial chemistry, but then it very quickly just kind of tapers off, and they tend to not want to go there with me, so to speak, especially when I want to talk about more ethereal
Yeah.
things. So I
I
can see the
find
Pisces in
it's
this.
quite common nowadays, though, isn't it? That people are like, oh no, I looked up your chart already before they've actually been on a date.
It's very common, yeah. I yeah, it is, and it's almost a little invasive.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a friend that actually she carries a tarot deck in her
Oh,
purse,
you
and she
serious?
went on a date,
Uh-huh.
and the cards fell out. And I said, "So you take a fucking tarot deck on a
Oh
date with you?"
my
And she was like, "Well, how would you know?"
god.
And I was like, "Human interaction,
Yeah,
body language,
yeah,
just communication, like a
right.
normal person."
Yeah, let it organically unfold.
Yeah, but she was like, "Well, no, I'm just gonna ask the universe.
uh,
Way easier."
no, the universe will fuck with you if you do that. You know what I mean? Like you want to do that, and then you're gonna pull the devil card because that's what you're doing. You're meddling. Yeah, I mean, I love looking at birth charts. I think it's a beautiful thing. And when I am invested in someone, I want, and I know them, and I've gotten the time to get to really organically understand their energy and be in a more sensual place and be in a more connective space where I feel like I know them. Then it's like, okay, let's sit down and look at our charts and like, let's unpack this and let's see the different layers and flavors and see why, oh, that
Mm.
makes sense, because you do this. And I don't know, I find it to be a really fun kind of treat, if you will, to wait.
Sorry.
And that's how you feel about that. We'll cut that out. Take your time. It's okay.
No, I'm good. I'm great.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. But yes, that's my thought process on charts is it's almost like sex in a way for me. It's like um if we're not gonna like I'm not gonna have a one night stand with you, and I'm also not gonna just read your chart right away. It's almost like let's connect first.
But okay, so if you were to read the universe, so let's say do tarot cards
Uh-huh.
or look at their chart, would that influence how you would interact with that person prior to meeting them?
100%. It
But
would.
wouldn't that change the dynamic of the relationship before you've met them?
I mean, so are you saying could it enhance the experience?
Or either way, really.
I mean,
Because technically you've created a new timeline where you've actually
mm,
know all about them, whereas in the other timeline you didn't know anything about them.
true. I guess for me, because a lot of the work that I do with clients is intuitive, I do look at people's astrology charts. because that's so connected to my career and what I do for a living, I find that when it comes to relationships, I almost want to leave that to the side. And I guess that's why for me, I want to wait to unfold that, because there's a part of me that's almost just like, it's so what I do that I want to be a little bit offline and
Okay,
just
sure.
be open to their energy for the sake of being open to their energy and
Yeah,
kind of
of course.
practicing that muscle. So that's how I see it. But I understand what you're saying with kind of creating these two different dichotomies of, okay, the one, you can look at their chart ahead of time and you can kind of look at all the different facets and you can kind of be excited about certain pieces of it. But then at the same time, almost like foreshadowing or warn yourself. And in some ways that could be helpful.
Yeah,
But I just think I would lean into it too much and I'd almost use it as a crutch. And that's just me personally. How would
yeah.
you feel
Sure.
if you got to look at their chart ahead of time?
I think if I did it, it would make me create a persona about them prior
Mhm.
to actually meeting them or
Right.
knowing them. That's if I didn't already know them, rather.
Mhm. For
Um,
sure.
and also, it would tell me things that would either reaffirm
Mhm.
their energy, that I could sense from them. I'm also the same. I like to pick up on people's energy,
Mhm.
and I'm observant, so I like to pick up on
Yes.
the small details of what
Same.
they do and what they say.
Mhm.
Uh, Um, so, but a chart, I mean, you throw a chart in there or you throw
A
like a preconceived
tarot.
idea about them in there, and that could change the whole dynamic of what
Yeah.
I think about them.
Yeah, I still think, I mean, there was a time I think about someone that I went on a first date and somehow it slipped that I could read charts and he had never even looked at his birth chart before for what he, all he knew was that he was a Virgo and he was like, "Oh, let's look at it." And I really didn't want to. And I did anyway, just because I didn't want it to be awkward and like make it weird to be like, "No, I'm not,
Yeah,
I just was like, okay, this is a few years ago. And I was like, all right, let's take a look. And, I was doing it and it's weird. It's interesting. It's almost like, it's funny. I've never thought of this before, but like when a guy is like, "Oh, let's look at your chart," it almost feels like a guy wanting to be like, "Let's like go all the way." Like, let's like almost like pressuring me into having sex. But it's like, it's so different because it's your chart, but it's almost like the same energy of like, no, I don't want to go there yet. Like, I'm not ready for that yet. And that's
yeah,
kind of like what I felt like I never made the connection. What I felt like when I was reading his chart, I was like, I don't want to be doing this with you yet. Like, I feel like we're not there yet. We're not like lubed up enough, so to speak.
yeah. I think there has to be that strong connection as well for you
Hmm.
to want to look at that
Hmm.
person's chart, because
True.
inevitably you see a future with that person before there even being a future. That's why you're looking at the chart.
Right. Right.
So, or you're seeing that there is a future, depending
Yeah.
on how you frame that.
Right. And in this case, I actually was seeing there wasn't a future because I think that was part of it too. I almost was feeling a little bit let down because it was going really well. Then we
Yeah.
pulled up his chart, and then based on his chart, I was like, oh, like this is, ooh, like, yeah, like great for someone else. But for me, this is like not a match. And I guess, again, you could say in some ways, great, you knew ahead of time, but I guess there was a part of me that was like, let me just be in this for the sake of being in it without any tools, so to
Sure. Did you give him the talk after that?
speak. No, I like wait, the talk in what way? Like what talk?
Like the talk, like did you let him down gently after that? Like he's
Yeah.
really great. Like you're really great, but
Yeah. So what happened was I did. So I did the talk. Or what did we do? We ended the date and I just ended it. We didn't like there was nothing, no kiss. It was he dropped me off and then he asked me out again and I kind of let him down gently and then he was like, "No, I'd really like to go out with you." And so I was like, "All right, let me give him a second chance." So I went on a second date. And then what happened was we wound up kissing, and then there was connection. And then I told him I still wasn't sure, and he just kept pursuing. And then we wound up dating for 5 months.
oh,
So
okay.
that's what happened with that. It's like, and now I get, looking back, it would have been much different. It would have literally been that night would have ended. He would have done a follow up, and I would have just been like, you know what, this isn't the right fit. But that was something I had to learn then.
Yeah.
That
What
was
did that teach you?
Oh, it just taught me to trust my initial intuition and to trust that this was enough for what it needed to be. However, there's more, and to believe in that moreness and to let this one go.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, I think now practicing that has been much better because it's almost like your emotions will fool you if you don't um, if you don't follow them initially.
Yeah, sure. Energy is eternal. That shit don't lie.
No, it doesn't. But you can try to manipulate it or it gets confusing. And again, when the physical gets brought in, you're kind of like, all right, well,
Yeah.
you're good with your tongue. So that's something.
Usually if I get like a bad not a bad feeling from someone, but
Mhm.
if the energy just isn't mixing very well, then you can kind of tell straight away.
Sure.
Uh, and I mean, if you're more in tune with that, or if you're more intuitive,
Hmm.
then of course you can spot that a mile off.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I mean, now I'm at the point where I can tell within like 5 seconds. Do you ever get that way? Or you
That's
think that's
fast.
too extreme? It's
That's extreme.
it's quick. But it's been pretty accurate, and not just with romantic. I found it with other individuals as well, whether it be colleagues or even friendships. Just this kind of knowing, yes or no. It's very immediate now.
Yeah, sure. I think, well, energy is how I like to gauge everything,
Mm.
other than, how I previously mentioned
Sure.
communication through body language and gestures and all that kind of stuff. But energy, like even during sex, I mean, energy is how I gauge what a partner likes, what a partner doesn't like, if they're into it. And so I kind of base it around everything because it kind of is what the universe is comprised of. So, and we can often miss physical cues and verbal cues. But if we tune into that, then we can pick up on what our partner likes, what our partner doesn't like.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And we can kind of feel it in and out as opposed to always needing to rely upon the gorgeous tools that the universe has provided us, like tarot, like astrology, different things. It's like they're great, but what's even better is the own energy conductor that you possess and
Yeah,
to,
sure.
to play with that and to practice it and to read and embody someone through that energetic um, way. It's
Yeah.
powerful. That's good. I love it. So that's good talk. Question. Well, I have a couple more questions, but I guess, one of the things we were talking about, yeah, so this, we were just talking about that kind of energetic read from someone and how you would kind of gauge that to move things forward. Is there anything that so from your perspective, a lot of our listeners are, well, we have male and female listeners, and I guess, gender doesn't really apply anymore. It's more about the energy and the essence. So if someone's in a space where, you had mentioned, trust and would you say trust and more again? Is that what you said?
Uh, Trust in love once more again.
Or yeah, trust and love once more again. And so is there something that someone, like you said, energy doesn't lie. Do you feel like there's something that someone can do to help kind of allow their energy to be in more of that magnetic open space?
That I would say going back to more things that make you happy on a soul level.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to creativity. I mean, when I had gone through a breakup in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
the end of 2010, and I had started to do more creative stuff. And eventually, I got over the breakup, but I'd learned all new skills to get me through that, stuff that I liked. And also, I somehow managed to find more poets through that experience.
Mm, yeah.
So I think opening yourself up to love means you need to go back to the basics of finding what makes your soul tick and how you find love on a soul level, as opposed to finding love from other people, uh, whether it's for security or whether it's validation or appreciation or just because you desperately need love. I mean,
Yeah.
it all begins from within,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but not in like the the self sort of sense.
Not in the cheesy way.
Not in the cheesy way.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
no cheese here. This is a fine wine kind of way. We're talking about energy from the space of, yes, beauty and a good glass of wine, amazing cup of coffee, that kind of energy.
Yeah, the finer things that make your soul tick. Whether it's like traveling or finding your sense of adventure from that,
Mm-hmm.
cooking, writing, painting, reading books. I feel like, when you're in that, the heightened state of pain is when you're the most transformational.
Mm.
All of that shit comes out that you really wanted to do.
Yeah, you can finally do it and live it and embody it and play with it and be curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And let it be simple too, as well. We don't have to overcomplicate that either. I think sometimes we get too ahead of ourselves when it comes to that also. Like, oh, well, I'm going to be creative now. And so da 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 da. It's like, no, just be, right? Just be present. This idea of what we were talking about even with
Definitely.
meditation.
I think another aspect of being present is, so recovering from a breakup, is that we often tend to be focused on the past, like in regards to something that you mentioned earlier, uh, like thinking of your memories of a past breakup,
Mm-hmm.
of a past relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So you're so focused on that and fixated on that that you cherry pick all the best parts of that, and they become that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and that stops you from being able to focus on a future that you think is better because you're so fixated on the past.
Right.
Meaning that you don't live in the present anymore either,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big issue if you're trying to manifest a partner that checks all the
Right.
boxes. So that's a lot of the sadness lies in that. I mean, I've been through it. I'm sure many other people have been through it. That we always assume that the past is better than what's ahead of us.
No, it's not the case. We wake up every day with a beautiful opportunity to create something magnificent, to create something even better, to create something even more in alignment. And we have the power in the beautiful present moment. We have power in the moment we wake up. And so that's why I really cherish my mornings, because I know that for me, when I cherish my morning and it starts off with kind of doing the things, as you say, make your soul tick, it makes for a really beautiful day that allows me to be present and that allows me to focus on what the day has for me. And from there, like you said, that kind of flow, that manifestation, things from a futuristic progression perspective or frequency
Yeah.
start to catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
I
good
think
place
once
to
you
be.
start flowing at that kind of vibration, that the past wasn't the best part of my life. That lover wasn't the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you start to attract, new people or new things into your life, new opportunities. When you stop holding space for that exact thing that you think was the best thing of your life, you redirect the open space to just let new things in.
Yeah. Let the universe prove you wrong there. Be like, no, that wasn't your best lover. No, actually, that wasn't the best day of your life. This moment, this opportunity that you're in now, open up to it, and there could be something really juicy.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it. All right. So this has been our talk. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. I really appreciate you. So I want to read one of the poems that I like from you and just get your take on it before we let you
Okay,
go.
sure.
Okay. So this is from your book, page 112, and it's called Morning Stretch. Speaking of mornings, like I said, I just love kind of curating some juiciness in the morning. So you're right. I love her most in the mornings with her messy hair, sleepy voice, stretching out like a lioness, and that look in her eye like she could eat me alive. Period. I love that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you like that?
I feel like I need to look at it again. Well, I love that you said lioness, the Leo in me, but I love because that's to me something that I savor with my own self and with partnership is that. So, for example, in the morning, I could wake up alone in my bed and I would have that feeling, waking up with my messy hair, waking up with my sleepy voice, stretching out and looking at the day like I could eat it alive. And so, if there's a partner in bed with me and it's that same notion,
Yeah,
it's,
definitely.
yeah, there's just something about that energy and that momentum.
It's the realness of that moment is,
Mhm.
you slept together, and it could be, uh, like either partner steals the covers, or
Uh-huh.
there's like limbs everywhere,
Yes.
and it's an authentic moment. But then you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, and then it's like, it's morning, it's Christmas morning again,
Yeah.
because your lover's there, and you get to see them in their natural state, and you still love them, and regardless to having no makeup on or whatever. So it's kind of like, it's you love their genuine self, which is their soul,
Yeah.
and you see them stretch in the morning, um, which is always nice.
It is. It evokes something. There's a rawness and a realness and such an appreciation for being able to be the one to see someone in that state, because it really is often behind closed doors that you see that side of someone.
Yeah,
And
it's reserved, and it's only for you. And I think I always loved that aspect,
mhm.
that no one else sees. That, the yawns, the morning
Mhm.
stretch,
The
the
rubbing of the eyes.
yeah, the hair all fucked up and shit. I
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, me too. I really do. So that's one of the ones I appreciate that I wanted to share.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. So keep us posted whenever you want to share what the secret book is of yours.
Oh, I will. I'm hoping to get a first draft done in the next 2 to 3 months, so it should be. I'll have more news on it.
Okay.
But it's something that I've been contemplating about writing for a while now, and there's been a bit of an outcry for it as well.
Hmm. Well, I look forward to it.
I'll have some more news on it soon.
Okay. TBD.
TBD.
TBD. So Scorpio rising of you to keep your public work secret from us right now. See, now I know so much more now that I know your whole little, well, your triple anyway. I don't know your whole
Yeah,
chart.
well, my Lilith is Gemini, which I recently
Ah.
looked into, and then I was like, "Fuck,
There's your inner child right there.
yeah."
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's Cancer. We'll leave it at that. But what I will say I love about astrology is it always keeps revealing itself to you. You can never fully ever be complete with your chart. It's always going to show you so many more layers and evolve with you and reveal new things, which is one of my
I
favorite
think so.
parts.
I recently got into human design in the
Mm.
last 2 to 3 months, and I haven't really looked into it much. I kind of skimmed over it,
Mm.
and I just found that absolutely fascinating. The way that I was like, it's so spot on, and I've only scratched the surface of human design.
Yeah, I feel the same way with that. I'm a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
What are you?
Uh, I am. Oh shit! I'm a projector.
A projector. Okay. That's why you forgot.
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah, I agree. I've only scratched the surface with it as well, but from what I've gathered, it's been very useful. And I notice I pull from it, even just the small bits that I've taken. There's moments throughout my week where I'm like, oh, well, remember, you're a manifesting generator and you do things in this way, and notice the way you did that, etc. So that's a cool one too.
Yeah, my profile was the Martyr Heretic profile,
Mm.
and so I read into it a little bit, watched a couple of YouTube videos, and it made a lot of sense that it was like, you trial things, you do trial and error a lot, basically. So, which is, I do that a lot. I test things out, like I was saying about my own poetry. I try to push the boundaries to see if it will work.
Mm-hmm. It's so
So that
interesting.
was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like I want to go watch some YouTube videos about mine.
I think you should.
I'm going. The inner teenager in me is like, well, now I want to do it too.
Take the wine with you.
Okay, well, yeah, I still have some left, so I'll go down that rabbit hole. Well, thank you so much, Anup, for taking the time to chat with us. It was really interesting to hear what you had to say. And like I said, I've really admired your work from afar. And so it's just been nice to have a more personal connection with you through this.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. So tell me, did you love this episode? While I may not need your validation, I certainly love it. So go ahead and make sure that you are following or subscribed or have reviewed this podcast in whatever app you listen to. And let's support the show by supporting each other. Share this out with a friend or someone that you know would just love to have a juicy listen. I adore you. You're amazing. Thank you.